Finishing day 2. Today's a Superfill day. We got quite a bit of the dope on there. I don't think there's a whole lot to go on that. It's more sanding as far as the substrate goes. And I'm going to prepare this for the Superfill. We're going to have to draw a tape line, and that tape line comes out and turns this way so that we can get this in. I use a plastic spoon to apply the Superfill in this fillet area here because it's got a nice round edge on it. You want to leave more on than you need because you're going to sand it to shape. It's probably going to be, I would say it'd probably take me at least 3 hours to get all the Superfill put on. Now, obviously we're not going to go through 3 hours of taping or 3 hours of tape of the Superfill install. But I want to get that going today. I want to get the Z-epoxy on the cowl and the fiberglass so it can be drying. And come tomorrow, we might be far enough along to spray this area here white and get the cockpit started. This will be white. We'll use flat black on the inside, paint the inside black. You know, 40 years ago, since seeing this airplane, I can't remember how detailed the cockpit was on Tom's. Knowing Tom, it was probably fairly detailed, but looking at the pictures in the Model Airplane News magazine, there, you know, all I can see is that he had a pilot and air tanks. We're not going to go crazy with dashboard and that other business on this, but we're all going to put the pilot in, and it'll be painted like the original, and the 2 air tanks will go back here. I like doing them air tanks. They're kind of a neat touch. I have 2 airplanes with them in there now, which is the brother to this, the Continental XL and the Monado XL, which numerically have nothing to do with this airplane. So my Continental and Monado are in name only. It's kind of like Jerry Worth's Aptrix and Bill Werwage's USA 1. Not the same airplane, even though they look the same. So basically, that's what we got going. I'm going to kind of clean up the mess. I'll set up for the Superfill. We'll get that mixed. I got my order of a gallon of thinner and a quart of Superfill in from Wix yesterday. That's 1-day service. Excuse me, I got it in Friday. I called it in on Thursday, got it on a Friday. I'm just now going to open them. But it's 1-day service from Wix. There's a link on the site here on dope finishing products. I'll be adding some more links on that page of the products that I use. This is 1000 grit sandpaper we're sanding the fuselage with now. I want this fuselage super slick because we're getting ready to paint. I mean, we're coming down to the wire now. It's only been 1 day, but because of how I do things, you know, we'll be ready to paint here. I would say we're going to be painting Monday. Next week sometime, let's put it that way. I don't want to give a for sure date. But it's not months and months. It's just a few weeks. We're still really light. I'm looking for around 45 ounces by the way the weights are coming out. I have the muffler on it now, and all the hardware is installed. 45 ounces is not exactly where I wanted to be. I'd like to have been at 40 ounces, but we're going to have to live with 45 ounces. This is junk wood now. I used all my scrap wood in the shop. Well, not all of it. I could build another 2 airplanes, and I might do that. I'm thinking about doing a build along like I had started 8 years ago. I was going to do a build along, but we didn't have video then. So kind of like a classroom where I'll do 1 hour a day of the classroom. First we'll talk about design and theory, and then execution. I'll do something on it, and I'll put up a PDF of the rib templates that we're going to use. We'll stack sand the ribs and set it to jig. So you can look for that project too. I mean, if I do 1 hour a day, 200 days, it'll take a few months. Or we might just do a profile where we do it in 100 days, so 3 months. So if you want to build along, you can, and we'll only work on it an hour a day, and you can work right with me. If that's a valid concept, you know, let me know. I think what I'll do is I'll post this on the open forum, this first part of the second day of finishing, just to let everybody know we're going to do that. I think if you build along with me and follow the steps that I do, you'd be real happy with the project as it turned out. I made myself a promise next year: flying more, building less. So I got to have airplanes to fly. Because there was a time there I was down to nothing. And now I got about 15 airplanes ready to go. Well, not ready to go, because those 2 there on the wall are old. If anybody'd like to show up here and make me an offer on my S6B Supermarine and my Horizon, of course there's no motors in them, they're set up for PAs, and I'd be happy to sell them. They'd be cheap. The Horizon has a few bit to not hanger rash, it has asphalt rash from the low pull out at the FAI team trial. But the Supermarine, it's in good shape. That was only a 16-point airplane, but it's light. It's 56 ounces with a PA on it, and it's big, 710 square inches, 56 ounces. So we're still sanding. It'll be hours and hours and hours of sanding, and I know that's just too boring to put up. So you know, I don't want to bore you with it, but it's coming out real nice. I only got one problem spot, and I'm still debating, because it's not that bad. I might just float in some putty from there back and kind of hide that. It's only a few thousandths, and I'm not sure that even primer might rid that low spot. Like I said, it's probably, that low spot is probably 5 thousandths off. So maybe 5 coats of paint, 5 coats of primer would take that low spot out. I'm not sure. but I do want this airplane to be spectacular. There's been many USA 1s built that are very, very nice. I've seen Bob McDonald's. I haven't seen, there's another gentleman on the left coast that has a USA 1 that's, you know, it looks as good as Billy's did, but I'm sure it's not as light. But I want this airplane to look as good as Tom's and be 10 ounces lighter. He ran a McCoy 40 in his. We're running a Super Tiger 46. For the simple fact I don't have a McCoy 40. And Super Tiger 46 has that super classic run, so we'll go with that. I do have a Super Tiger 60 for sale. I bought them. The gentleman gave me one at Brodax. I built my Monado XL. I needed a backup motor. I ended up buying 2 backup motors off of eBay. And I'm going to sell one of those motors, so if anybody's interested in those. Last night I bought a lot of Rev Up 11.6 propellers, 11.4, 5, and 6 propellers. I'm going to take a few out of that and sell the rest. If anybody's looking for 11.6 Rev Ups, I got those. Some new, some used. We'll see what we get when I get them here. I'll put them out on the table and we'll take a video of that. But this is the progress. This is day 21, so we got 3 weeks into it. And it's coming along very nicely. Kind of zoom in on the cowl. Let's see. You can see that. I can hardly see the monitor. It'll be it's going to be super nice. You can view the take apart wheel pants that I did. Boy, were they a pain in the ass. It took, well, actually 3 days, because the first set that I built, or first one that I built, was a waste. And I ended up having to build 2 more, so it took 3 days. But they come apart. I'm not happy with the weight. I'll grind on them some more. See if we can get the weight out of them. They're 49 grams. As the airplane sits here right now, it's 39 3/4 ounces. Put the pilot in and the canopy, it ends up 40 1/4 ounces. And we got finish to go. So I'm figuring that from where we are here, finish will add probably another 5 ounces. So that means, you know, all the white, all the Superfill, and the trim colors and the clear, about another 5 ounces. I think I can get away with. So we're looking at mid-40s. I like it. It's very nose heavy right now because there's no paint on the back, but I'm sure that the CG will move back quickly when I start adding the color on it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Control Line Craftsman. Think about that that project I proposed about build along. You know, do a profile or something and do an hour a day on it. And list the parts, and I'll go ahead and show you how I come up with an airfoil out of the blue. and I'll post that airfoil up, the airfoil's up, and you can decide whether, you know, you want a tapered wing, a straight wing, or whatever, and we'll just build it up right here in an hour a day. So, we'll see you on the next video. Tie lines. Okay, I have the fillet kind of prepared for the first Superfill installation. Superfill comes from Wicks in containers like this. It's taped together. It's a 2-to-1 mix. 2 blue, 1 white. And we're going to need quite a bit for this fillet. However, we're not going to fill this completely up right here. These are just guidelines so that we don't get Superfill everywhere. I use a plastic spoon for this part. Plastic spoon seems to give me a nice radius. I ordered some more of my mixing cups, but they won't be here till tomorrow, so I'm going to have to use what I got. We'll undo the Superfill. It's fresh, so I probably shouldn't need stirring, but we'll look at it and see. You can tell. Let me open it up. Superfill looks like that, and that does not need stirring, so we're in good shape. It needs stirring when it's shiny at the bottom. So we'll take a liberal amount, about yay much. Too much for the cup. Need a bigger cup. Might have to do this in a couple of settings here. So we have this much in the cup, using a different stick for the activator, because you don't want to cross-contaminate it. If you do, you end up with rocks in it. Get another paint stick. Sherwin-Williams gives me free paint stir sticks. I'm trying to figure a way to incorporate them into models, to be honest with you. It's pretty straight wood. They're not all that heavy. And, the activator looks like that. So you take half as much as you have in a cup, and add that. So that's about half as much as that, maybe a little more. All that means is we have less work time. Matter of fact, it is more than half. Doesn't have to be a perfect mix, just eyeball it. And then stir it up real good. I need bigger cups. It turns aqua when it's mixed. It's light blue when it starts, and like I say, we'll probably have to do 2 cups. I wish I had one of Eric's syringes now. Okay. That's pretty good. So, make sure you get it mixed, because if you don't, then it won't harden. That's good. Plastic spoons are nice because you can scoop out like ice cream or pudding the material from the cup, and then use the back half to give it a nice round edge. So we'll scoop some out. Take the other stick to get it out off the spoon. For these fillets, it usually takes a couple of applications. You're not going to get it unless you leave a lot of Superfill on the model. You're not going to get it in the first crack, I don't believe. At least I never have. That looks good. Now we just need to manipulate the putty at the front. I use credit cards. I have some rubber spatulas. Whatever it takes to get this putty to lay down nicely, so that you don't have a gob of sanding to do. And this didn't add a whole lot of weight. That cup didn't weigh hardly anything. This is amazing stuff. And we're going to sand most of it off anyway, so it doesn't much matter. And it's at the front of the airplane, so that's a good thing. Now it's all about sculpting, or icing a cake, so to speak. We're going to have to wait for it to firm up. Probably take 15 minutes so that I can manipulate it with alcohol and smooth it completely flat. It's just doesn't have any body yet. Wait, it just doesn't have any body yet. Keep wiping the spoon off and oh shoot, I took too much out of it there. Got to add it back. Got it too low. So now let's see if I can find my spreaders. This is a flex line spreader from the paint store. Make sure to get this area where the wing joins the outer fillet real good. I think I took too much out of it there, so we'll put some back. What a lot of rigmarole for this thing, but this is an artistic airplane. Tom did a really neat job on designing it. I'm not going to mess with it until it firms up. So I'm going to cut the camera. Probably be half an hour before the stuff firms up that I can start working it with the alcohol. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, it's been approximately 30 minutes. The Superfill has firmed up. And I took 91 proof alcohol on my finger and kind of molded it into a basic shape. We won't keep working it till it firms up a little harder. But now the tape comes off. I also put the excess on the wingtip out here and on the stabilizer. Now I didn't get them shaped right, but because it was a over. But what that does is instead of wasting the Superfill, it kind of fills up for the next coat, so I have to use less. So now we have a pretty good ridge there. Where the Superfill transitions from the fillet to the fuselage. Not to worry, like I said, as soon as this firms up a little more, I'll put the alcohol on my finger and we'll blend that, mold that in. So it's all timing, practice. I can't teach timing because each batch of this material is mixed different, but you kind of get an idea of what that fillet's going to look like. So we will just wait the time until this Superfill is a little more you don't have to smooth it out. You can sand it out. But man, like I said in some of my other videos, there's just so much sanding on these models. Why make it harder on yourself? Not sure how many grams that adds or how much these fillets are going to add, but it doesn't matter because I want them on there. strengthens the nose, makes it look cool. And the original was done that way, so we'll be back in a short when this firms up a little more. We'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and show you how to smooth it out with the alcohol. So we'll be back. I almost screwed up. I was editing Control Line Craftsman and forgot that this was setting up over here. And anyway, I'm back at it. I caught it just in time, I think. Could have been a little easier if I'd have done it a little sooner. Anyway, alcohol on your finger. Now we're kind of molding it in to make for less sanding. There's a low spot right there. Gonna need some Superfill. Put back on, unless I can get it out like that, maybe. Of course, I want to float a little Superfill there where I've been complaining about that low spot. But you can see this is going to make a super nice fillet. All in the way you turn your finger too. This is something I can't teach on the video. It's kind of trial and error, practice. You just want to make it flow. Of course, we're going to sand it, and I also run some Z-epoxy over the top of it. Because I want the top of this section right here. I don't put any Z-epoxy on the fillet back here, but I do on the leading edge part. I wish I would have caught it a little sooner. I'll have to pay attention on the other side and not be editing video and things while I'm doing this. Trying to do too many things at once. So we got that pretty much smoothed out. I can see by looking at it, it's got some divots there, but when it hardens and we sand it, it'll be perfect. I don't know how much weight those added, but I sure like the looks of them. There's now a question and answer page I have opened up. Click the top link, the Q&A, and if you have a question, I'll look there every day and see if I can answer them for you. I did the tip out here too, so funny thing, when we were down in Memphis, Charlie Reed said, I'm going to cover a wing. I said, well, I can show you how I cover a wing with no dope. And he said, yeah, I'm going to show you that too. And I had figured they were going to do silk span, you know, because these guys are not monocoat guys. And if you look at their video, Well, I already deleted it. I had a kind of a short clip. They were monocoating a wing. I would have never guessed. Charlie was building, I think, something for his granddaughter. Checkerboard. It was comical. And of course, they didn't know what they were doing. They had to get Lewis Rankin out there to get it on there. I haven't done any monocoat jobs since the 90s. The only reason why I did the monocoat job on a couple of airplanes, Viper 1 was a monocoat airplane. The only reason being was I was trying to get it down to the 40-ounce range. And I did. It was just 40 ounces. Okay, we'll let it harden for the rest of the way and I'll come back and sand it. That's probably going to be the last of the Superfill videos because it's all repetition. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And we have to do that 5 more times. So I'm not going to show you 5 more times of the same thing. Recap, tape your line out, mix the Superfill, put the Superfill in, trowel it to a cylinder, reasonable shape. Let it set up, then come back with 91 proof alcohol and smooth it out. This is going to get another sanding to see, make sure that it's contoured to shape correctly. And if not, I'll put a skim coat of Superfill over the top of that. And after that dries, then we're going to Z-epoxy the second coat on this nose and then back into the wing here, probably to the high point, so that this flows perfectly from one to the other. The transition is perfect from one to the other. And it doesn't add that much weight. I mean, like I say, this airplane is going to be 45 to 47 ounces. That'll be plenty at 660 squares. And it'll be 10 ounces lighter than the original. So that's a good thing. So we'll see you when I get the Superfill done on the rest of the airplane. Okay, it's been all day getting the fillets on it. They're starting to dry up enough to sand. I'm just kind of roughing them into shape using 80 grit. It sands easier when the stuff is dry, but I don't do something. It's driving me nuts. Got to get them close. Gained about 3/4 of an ounce for fillets. That's a lot, but hopefully we're going to sand quite a bit of that off. That includes the tail too, so top, bottom, and the elevator stabilizer as well. It's probably going to take another round of Superfill to really mold these in good. I mean, it's starting to look good, but whatever it's going to take, I'm going to get them to mold in perfectly. You certainly don't need to put it on all at once or whatever. We can top it. Like right here, it seems a little low, so I'll come back and put a little bit in there. Then of course, like I said, I'll take Z-epoxy and paint this leading edge right here with Z-epoxy and sand it in. That way the transition is, you can't tell. I mean, it's just like body work on a car. The bottom fillets on the bottom aren't quite dry enough. I stuck my finger in it. Little trick that I do is I glue the sandpaper to my fingers sometimes. I know some people, they can't stand the CA on their fingers, but you kind of got to do what you got to do to get the job done right. Like I say, this is really not dry enough to sand, not powdering off. But we're getting a basic shape. I put some Superfill on the top here. It needs another skim coat. I'll get that when I sand the first layer and make it closer. And for feathering this area in right here, where the plywood meets the leading edge, I found that the only way to get it correctly is with the moto tool or Dremel to make it absolutely 100% disappear. And as soon as I can find a sanding drum, I have one here, but we'll see. And ever so slightly blend that in. So you just can't feel it. If you can feel it, you can see it. Now, like I said, it's not quite dry enough to really sand, but I am babysitting it and kind of shaping it up. So we'll cut the camera, and when it gets a little farther along, I'll come back. But it's been all day doing these fillets. And it's going to be worth it. It'll be cool, cool, cool. So we'll see you in a bit. 10 o'clock, day 21, a day of sanding. The problem is that I have to put another coat on the airplane, on the fillet areas. Now, they look pretty good. This part here sanded in real nice, but the other side is low, and then this area right here needs a top skim coat. So I have to put another coat of material on top of that, kind of a touch-up to the filleting. So I didn't get it on in one coat, but so what? So it's going to be another day of sanding. I got the fillets on the filler on the wing, and it turned out real nice. That's done. So I'm going to mix up some Superfill, and this will probably be the end for the day. I don't think I'm going to spend the rest of the night sanding. I'll just put the Superfill on it and set it aside, and tomorrow morning we'll pick up where we left off. That way I can be sleeping while the material's drying. I probably also fiberglass the cowl before I go to bed tonight. I put Superfill on it and sanded it out. Any of the bad spots on the cowl. Kind of shaped it up a little better, the openings. So, it's just when we talk about finishing it, you're not going to get it all on one setting. It's it's an ongoing process. And that's okay, you know. Can't do everything all at once. Just do what you can and save the next for the rest, you know, for the next day. But, you know, 21 days, we're not doing too bad. I see a little knob here I want to get sanded up. You gotta love that cowl opening. That is definitely signature Tom Warden. Paul Taylor asked me why the two different sizes. Well, this is a Super Tiger 46, and the intake is offset to the inboard side, so the bigger hole is on the inboard side, and the smaller holes on the outboard, but it's centered up in the cowl. And I don't know. I didn't think I'd like it, but I do. It looks kind of cool. The fillets in the back are coming out pretty nice. I got some low spots over here that I need to putty as well. I didn't get enough filler in on it. So I'll mix up another batch of Superfill and skim coat this, skim coat this. We're not far away now from being finished on the fillets. And then once that's done, we can proceed on to some more spraying of dope. So we'll call it the end of day 21. And I'll pick it up where I left off on day 22. So we'll see you tomorrow. Well, we're still sanding. Unfortunately, that's part of the deal. It just goes on and on and on and on. We're on day 21. It's been 2 days on the fillets. And last night I had to put a second coat on, which is okay, to get the fillet closer to what I wanted. They were, I didn't have them even in the front, so I just mixed up another batch of Superfill and evened them up, and I'm sanding them in now. I'm thinking this will probably take another day of just sanding fillets, and there's not, you know, there's not much of a need to post video on sanding. I mean, you could watch me sand for hours, because that's what I do. Last night we were talking, and I've been sanding 50 years. It seems like it's a never-ending deal. Sanding 50 years. So you better get good at it if you're done it that long. Another thing I'd like to talk about on sanding. If it looks good, that's fine, but you got to run your hands over it. If you can feel it when you paint it, you'll be able to see it. So use your hands to see. Don't rely on your eyes. Your eyes lie. I talked about that low spot up here that I had. Well, I put some Superfill in it and sanded it fairly round, and now I've got another piece of silk. I put a piece of silk fan over the top of that, and got some dope on that, and when that dries I'll sand it, and I'll keep massaging that until I can't feel it. Sanding with 220 now to get these fillets flat and level. I really like the looks of this airplane. It's going to come out pretty nice. I'm not sure about the weight. I keep weighing it in mid-40s. I wish it was lighter, but it's not going to be. What do you expect for junk wood, right? Anyway, keep sanding. Take your time, make it perfect. Paul Taylor had called me last night and he asked me how I was coming on it. And it's going to be better than the Monado. And he said, I don't know how you can top that. Well, the original was insignia white. I think this one's going to be pearl white. I want to make it a little different than Tom's, but as close to the original as possible. I'll probably add just a hint of pearl to the white. I don't want to make it too obvious. It's kind of like the metallic that's in my Monado, where it has just the hint of flake in it. I cut the pilot's head off last night, and I didn't cock him as much as I normally do, but I turned him just a little bit, ever so slightly, to give him a little more realism. The pilots that come from Williams Brothers are very static. They look mechanical. They don't have an expression on their face. They don't have any motion. So I cut his head off and turned him just a little bit. Normally I've been turning him up and out, but this one he's looking more straight forward and to the right. We'll see how that, we'll try that and see how that looks. There again, Tom's was straight forward. So I don't want to veer too far from the original. I thought I'd make another magazine and lay it on the upper part of the instrument panel there, like I did my Continental XL, of the Model Airplane News article in 1971 of this airplane. To me, this is like artwork. It's my way of being artistic, I guess. And I get a lot of satisfaction from doing this, from helping people learn how to do this. I'm going to see about getting the AMA to advertise my building seminar we're going to do online. Matter of fact, I think I'll call in today. Either that or call Bob Hunt. Too bad he's not the editor anymore. I know that maybe we'll start that January 1st. So I'm going to cut the camera. There's no sense in you watching me sand for the 40 hours it's going to take to get these fillets right. But whatever it takes to get them right is what it's going to take. If it takes me 2 days, if it takes me 4 days, if it takes me a week, I will make sure these fillets are sanded so that you can't see the transition between changing directions. It will go freeform from right up the side. We got to get some DC 540 for that too. And that's one thing that one of the reasons why I like the DC 540. You can actually see your work. See, right here I'm relying on sight and feel. When more feel than sight, when you put the DC 540 on it, you can see if the transition disappears, you know you got it right. Yeah, that disappeared, that's good. I have a lot of these polywogs of different sizes and shapes. These, I can't remember where I got these, but they're soft rubber. And you wrap the sandpaper around them and sand with them. These are Penn Valley, I think I got them from. I'm sure Micro Mark has them. I want to get this close because I don't want to have to use that other 3M spot putty. Got quite a bit there I got to knock off. So we're losing weight as I sand the excess material off. So I'm gonna cut the camera. We'll be back in a bit if I got anything to update. So see you in a bit. 4 hours of sanding, and I got the top done. Next it'll be turn it over and do the bottom, and if it needs another coat of Superfill, we'll have to do that. Today I will go to Napa and get some DC 540 for at least the fillet area. Oh, I can feel a spot there that's not sanded enough. So if you feel things that aren't sanded enough, that means that you'll be able to see things. So just keep tinkering with your sanding. You know, try to perfect your sanding skills. That's sanding is where it's at. If you want a super nice model, you have to be a sander. Still a little high. This side came out real good. Because this was the side that I did in 2 stages, and this is the side that I did in 1 stage and sanded it to shape. But I'll get her. But it's got a real nice look to it. I really like the look of those huge fillets in the front there, and they're hard to do and get right where it comes perfect into the fuselage. And in order to do that, to get it to transition perfectly, once you have the fillet on and it's sanded to its basic rough shape, we're going to come back. The nose has 1 coat of Z-epoxy on it. I always put 2 coats on. So what I do is, to get it to transition perfectly, I'll take the motor out of this, and tonight when I put the 2nd coat of Z-epoxy on this, it will be painted all the way back onto the fillets and onto the wing. Then tomorrow when we come back, we'll feather that in, and it will look like a piece of plastic. And it doesn't add that much more weight. I mean, you know, we're talking grains, we're not talking ounces. And the transition will be perfect because you're sanding like materials. Here you're sanding silk span to putty to fiberglass. So if I Z-epoxy all of this up to at least this area, it'll all be fiberglass or Z-epoxy resin. And then the only areas to feather will be on the wing, and you can feather that with the DC 540 and it just goes away. But you want to have all the surfaces of the same hardness. Yeah, I'll flip it over, do the bottom. I don't know how many hours it'll take to do the bottom. But that's what model airplane building is, sanding. 21 days in, I think it's 21. Could possibly be 22, but I think 21 days, so 3 weeks, just a little over 3 weeks. From my pile of junk wood over there in the corner, we have a piece of artwork about ready to be unfolded. So, is it as light as it could be if I'd had all the ultra class contest wood? Probably not. But the difference being probably only an ounce. You know, I've cut away all the material that wasn't needed, and I've sanded and hollowed, and you know, so we're looking at just probably an ounce difference between a, you know, 100% good grade contest wood and my second and third generation contest wood. It's all contest wood, but it just wasn't the par wood. And I wasn't going to throw it away because I knew someday that I would do something. I have enough over there to build another one of these. It's just a matter of, do I want to do it? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that wood over there and we're going to build us a profile airplane, because I don't have a profile airplane. And I'll show you how I fold a piece of paper, take a French curve, make an airfoil, draw the numbers. You know, this, I can build a profile in a week's time, and I'm going to show you guys in 1 hour segments. As I said, I'm going to try to get the AMA on board and see if they won't you know, advertise a building seminar on control line craftsman. Something to get the kids interested in. So if you're not a member of Control Line Craftsman, you know, it might serve you well. There's a lot of guys out there that have no interest in what I'm doing, but that's fine. You know, they know it all, so they don't need to know anything more, and that's okay. Because I got a lot of tricks I ain't shown yet. And then there's a lot of tricks I ain't gonna show, because I don't want to get sued. This spot here is leveling out pretty well. The spot that I told you about was low. I built it up, put a coat of silk span on it, and I've been doping it every time before I take off to go get the primer. I'll float another coat of dope on there, and we're just trying to build. We're only trying to build maybe 5 thousandths, so that low spot goes away. And you know, I always have the the 3M putty, but I don't want to use a whole lot of that. We'll get the DC540 and see what that looks like. And if it looks really bad, I'll have to. Because I can feel it pretty good here. But I keep sanding on it and doping it. So, instead of watching me sand for hours and hours, I'm sure there's another 4 or 5 hours of sanding on here all day. I'll cut the camera, we'll be back. So, see you when I get the bottom done. Hey, you caught me. I'm still sanding. There is a ton of sanding to do. Working on the bottom now. Just taking my time. I want these fillets, I want this whole airplane extra special. And the only way to get to do that is with time. Been sanding about on this airplane probably 20 hours now on the finishing sanding. And I would say there's probably another 20 in it. Because once I get all this finishing done and we put a coat of dope on it, or get all this sanding done I should say, and put another coat of dope on it, and get sanded again. Then another coat, and sand it again. The sanding after I get these fillets done won't be quite as intense. These fillets are taking some time to get shaped correctly. And I'm using my Penn Valley sanding aids, the Polywogs. I'm using 220 to rough it, 320 to finish sanding before the next coat of dope. And you can tell when the fillet's to the right shape when there's no shiny spots left. It all becomes flat and uniform. If you look right here, you can see shiny spots, and it's pretty high there, so I take 80 grit on a soft block and level it out. Stay off the wood when you're using 80 grit. Stay just on the putty. Get it close, then we'll switch to 220. And continue sanding. This step of model airplane building, while it doesn't make for good footage, it's good relaxation. I really enjoy sanding. Like I said earlier, I've been sanding 50 years. I better enjoy sanding. I like the end result. I wonder how many hours in my life I have spent sanding. I'm just glad I don't have to do it for a living, like be a body man and sand. Of course, I probably would make a decent body man. Because I can see lines and shapes. But bodyman has to be fast. And one would think that I'm fast by airplane standards. I'm probably not fast by bodywork standards. got it pretty close there. Try to feather into the fillet. You want the fillet to more or less melt into the wood so that it becomes thinner, thinner, and thinner when it hits the wood. And that small, minute gap gets filled with dope. The fillet comes down this way, and right where it reaches the turning point, you want to feather that till it's translucent, transparent, basically, and you can't feel it. And anything that you can feel will be filled in with the dope or the primer or sealer or whatever you're going to use when you feather it in. If you can feel it, you'll be able to see it. So that's pretty good. We got I got a hole here. That's going to need some more filler. But I'll sand it and get it close. Well, I have to go get some DC 540, and before I go, I'll mix up some of the Superfill in a hot mixture so that when I come back, that low spot will be filled. Finish is not what you put on, it's what you take off. Sanding, sanding, sanding. The detail sanding is the final detail sand out is what makes the airplane. How good did you do your final detail sanding? So I've covered in my finishing section, I showed you how to put on the poly span. Minimum 3 coats of dope on the bare wood. I only use butyrate. I don't use nitrate. I don't use non-tautenting. I use straight butyrate dope. Randolph, I think it's 9703. It's on the products page I got there from Wick's Aircraft. Buy it by the gallon, cheaper that way. The thinner is expensive. The thinner is $42 a gallon, but by the time you pay for the hazmat shipping and everything, it's $50-some a gallon. For thinner that used to cost $5. And I hate it, but use similar products. I tried the 3608S on one airplane, matter of fact the Monado, and had kind of disastrous results. So we had the paper pull up because the thinner wasn't hot enough, so I had to break down and get the right stuff. So you might as well just get the right stuff from the beginning. Anyway, we got one side done, or sanded for the first time. I do have to come back and we'll hit it with some Superfill again. Matter of fact, I could do that now. I'll show you that now. If you look right here, I have a low spot, and you can tell it's low because it's shiny. hard to be the cameraman. There's a low spot right here. I'll mix up some Superfill, and we'll take a trowel, a razor blade or something, come back and trowel it into that low spot. There's a line right there that's low. And let it dry. Matter of fact, I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to do it all at once when I get all this sanded up. So I'm going to cut the camera. I'll continue to sand. You can best bet it'll be an all-day project. Hours and hours and hours of sanding. And then when you think you got it done, sand it again because you don't have it done. I like it. I like it a lot. I worked on my pilot a little bit. I'll talk about him because I really enhanced him. Glued him together, and I know I told you I turned his head. Well, that's all well and good, and I didn't turn it much. If you look, that's straight. He's just slightly turned. But what I did do is I took a file and my X-Acto knife, and I sharpened all the edges up on him. I cleaned up his mouth, dug the groove in his mouth a little deeper, went around the seat belts, filed those till they were straight and clean and deeper. I sanded all the marks where he glues together all the seams, so that when I do get ready to paint him, it'll be, first off, easier to paint that way, and second off, it'll add a little more depth, 3D, and realism to him. Oh, another thing. A lot of times pilots are too tall. And if you notice, this one's cut down. I just put them on the belt sander, and I sanded a 1/4 inch off the bottom. Well, if you sand a 1/4 inch off the bottom, what are you going to do? How are you going to glue them on? I epoxied a piece of balsa wood inside him, and then filed it off around the edges so that when I get ready to put him on, the bond will be wood to wood. And we know he's not going to come off. That's the floor of this is a piece of 1/16 inch balsa with 64 light ply laminated over the top of it. So that'll be good. 3 coats of dope inside the cockpit. When I get the primer, I'll prime all this area, and we're going to paint it white here so that I can add the air tanks and mount the canopy, and it'll be white inside with a black floor. I'm not sure how much detail I'm going to do on the cockpit. Now, as I told you, I wanted this to be as close to the original as possible. So we're going to need to get a length where the canopy goes. So I just take a ruler. We're coming up on that. In the next couple of days, we'll be mounting this canopy as soon as I can get this sanding done. The canopy front is exactly 8 inches back from the nose ring. So we'll just take a pen and measure 8 inches back. Make a mark, and I got a small mark right there. And I've already cut the 11-inch canopy and sanded it to shape so that it fits on pretty well. I'll probably clean up this area a little more before I get ready to install it, so it sits down on there a little better, because I don't want the Superfill to ooze inside and ruin what I've tried to create here. And we have to, we're going to be cutting this area right here. I'll get my felt tip pen, like so. And we know we have to relieve this area right here. So I'll be relieving that area. And I just do that on a belt sander. It takes like a second. Matter of fact, we'll do that now so you can see. So what I did was I drew a line to relieve that on the circumference of the nose. And we just come over here to the belt sander. Remember, when in doubt, quit sanding on something like this, because I don't have another one. Only got one chance. Take that black line off so it, because I can always sand more, but I can't add more back on. It needs just a little more, and I do mean a little more right here. So I'll sand it there and sand it there, and it will fit perfectly down on the fuselage. Forced underneath it so that I could see it from the inside. So put it on straight, hold it down, and see if it, that's perfect. It'll be absolutely perfect. This is the correct shaped canopy. It's in the correct location. The motor's period correct. Somebody was asking what I'm using for power. Super Tiger 46. I think Tom had a McCoy 40 in it, and I think he possibly could have went later to a 40 Super Tiger 46, but I don't know. The only one that can answer that's Bob Whiteley, because he has the original airplane. So I don't know what's in it now. But anyway, that's where we are. The cowl was glass last night before I went to bed, and before I started shooting any video today, I cleaned up the edges and set it back on. Now this is one coat on it, on the cowl, one coat on the nose of the Z-Epoxy. It will get another coat, and it'll go from the spinner back into the fillets and onto the wing, the Z-Epoxy. And then I'll sand that, feather and sand that. And that way, this line here, you won't be able to feel it transition. Well, you can't hardly feel it now, but you won't be able to feel it transition from the fillet to the fuselage. It'll be just absolutely perfect. And the only way you can do that is if you have all the same hardness of surface. And the only way I know how to do that is put Z-Epoxy on it. I suppose that you could use dope if you wanted to take your time and feather sand here and there. Oh, I feel a high spot there. Feather sand here and there, that you could get it correct. But I don't want to take a lifetime to do something that I can do in an hour when there's, I'd say there's 200 hours of sanding on an airplane. 200 building and 200 sanding for a real nice job. Now that low spot that I had talked about, that was right here, it's gone. I put filler on it, and then I rubbed it to shape, put dope on it over the top of that, waited for that. Then I put a layer of silk span over the top of that and doped it again. We'll dope it again, and I'll sand with 1000 grit. And now this was a mistake that I made, that I'm just giving you the insight on how to fix the mistake. This was low right here, and it should have been before I covered it, filled in, but it wasn't. I was thinking about cutting the tissue away here, filling it, then putting a new piece of tissue on it. But you know what? No matter, with polyspan, no matter how hard you try, you'll always see that seam where you cut the polyspan. If this was a straight silk span job, I'd have done it in a heartbeat, because you'd never be able to tell. So what I'm doing here is basically saving a mistake. They call it pulling a rabbit. It was overseen by me. I should have caught the woodwork before I covered it, but I didn't. So now we're having to fill it on the top side. But as I stated earlier on in the finishing video, when I'm done, you will not be able to tell that's what I did, because it's going to be blended in. It just takes a whole lot more work to do it this way. So if you made a mistake, don't be discouraged. You could call me on the phone, ask me on the forum. I'll show you, or I'll tell you my best advice on how to get out of the predicament that you're in. Because there is all sorts of predicaments you can get in. And you know, unless you have the experience, you're stuck. Well, I've tried everything, so, you know, I might as well tell you, because it ain't no secret. But anyway, I hope you're enjoying this build. I sure like it. I think it's going to be one cool airplane. One super cool airplane. I've kind of taken my time to make sure everything was straight. The only screw up was this here, but what are you going to do? I ain't perfect yet. Working on it. The only thing that makes this airplane look different than the original is the 1-inch shorter nose. And I was going to make the nose 1 inch longer as the original was, but decided against it for the simple fact of the way that it flew. And Tom had described that, and so did Tom Lay. Reading from the 1971 Model Airplane News magazine, ran and Dubrow hinges and drilling the holes and all that other particular thing. But I'm looking at the original plans, and the plans that I built off of were real close to this original plan here. Now there's a couple of different sets out there, and this is the set of plans that I have is the closest, and I just did the numbers off of this particular set of plans. The only thing I didn't do is, the original was a D tube. Of course, we made this a C tube, and it has nothing to do with aerodynamics. It just has to do with construction. But other than that, my airplane is as close to the original as possible, except again, you'll notice here the landing gear, the wheel itself is way ahead of the leading edge. Here I have the wheel pan ahead of the leading edge, but the wheel is set back in it. So we moved the wheels back so I could fly it off pavement. And the next thing is, he had the old style bell crank mount on a floor with 1/4 inch balsa wood, or it might even be pine, who knows. But that's not the way to do it either. And no compression spar in the middle. Even if I was building this as a D tube, I still would have the upper and lower compression spar with the bell crank suspended in that, because this wing will fold up. The bell crank also has a possibility to pull out. This wing here, not much of a chance of folding up, and very unlikely the bell crank would ever pull out. The lines would break before the bell crank would pull out. Looking at his picture there of the pilot, his pilot is peering straight forward. Ours is off to the side a little bit. I'm going to have to get some paint on his helmet. You know, when I painted my Continental XL, I made the checkerboards black on the bottom after reading the article, and to be honest, my memory is gone, because like I said, I haven't seen this airplane in person in 40 years. It says that the checkerboards were red on the bottom. I'm still debating whether red or black, because, you know, I want it the same, but it doesn't have to be the same. There's going to be a few changes in the paint, so that's kind of my artistic license on that. And I'm not going to have a Tornado 3-blade propeller on the thing. I have the right now it's a master air screw. I'll be probably going to carbon fiber. Depends on whether that works or not. So many questions. You look on the plans on how oval his fuselage is. That's the exact same way this is. This thing is really oval. It's got so much shape in it. I know there's going to be at least one person that I know tell me that I finally did it, because I don't ever normally build airplanes with that much shape in them. But this picture here brings back a lot of memories to me, and that right there is where I used to fly, right there. And this cage behind it is the tether car cage, and the street was over here, and you walk around, and we flew out there in that field, and it was all grass. They called it Gopher Gulch because there was all kind of gopher holes in it. And now, from what I understand, it's all pavement, one grass circle, all pavement. However, the tether car cage is still there. Whether it's in the same spot, I don't know. I haven't been there in 40 years. But looking at this picture, he had mailbox decals on the wing, and he had AMA on the left and his AMA number on the right. I'm thinking of leaving off AMA, and we'll go with the wording Continental and my AMA number in gold leaf. These are all things that I just think about. I know you're probably getting tired of hearing me talk and not seeing much action as the build goes. But as the days go on, and I think about this finishing, it's all part of finishing. How do I want to complete the job, and what's the vision of this airplane in my mind? Same as I did with the Monado, I had a vision of what I wanted to see, and on this airplane I have a vision of what I want to see. Well, I talked about the pearl. I might add maybe a half teaspoon of pearl to a quarter white. This is all might, you know. It depends. If I do a test piece and I don't like the looks of it, I'll just go with insignia white. But I would like a little iridescence in it. Or I might do like I did with the Monado and add the gold to the clear, so that we get gold flake all over the whole thing. The Monado must be seen in person to appreciate. You know, it just looks red on the video, but it's not. It's metallic. It's got real small, fine gold flake over the entire airplane. And I was asked how I did that, and I just told you. And how I put that gold in, you would never believe how I did it. I'll tell you in case you want to try it. All an experiment. You know, you do it on your own. Is I took the gold paint, the actual gold paint, and I poured it into the gun, and I let it settle. And it all settled, all the pigment settled to the bottom in the catch screen. Then I poured all that paint out Then I poured in thinner, and I swished it around and poured that out. Then I poured the clear in without cleaning the gun. And what's left in there is just a very fine flake to be distributed throughout the clear. And it looks super cool. Really cool. So I did it on purpose. I didn't know whether it would work, but I figured it would. And it did. It looks really good. So I might do that with this, or I might do the pearl in the white. I'm not sure. So anyway, I'll get back to sanding. You're probably tired of this video. Be sure to watch Control Line Craftsman. Gonna see all kind of stuff in it. So till I see you again, okay, we're back to time management. We know that we're gonna have to paint the pilot, and what I did was I went through all my stuff and dug out all the white paint that I had. And now I can't find my pilot. And I ended up with about 3 or 4 partial quarts. So I poured them into one and ended up with a quart of white paint. And I cleaned the can up. I got that over there. And well, now I'm going to have to cut the camera and find the pilot. I don't see what happened to him. Oh, he's sitting in the cockpit. No wonder why. So we're going to have his helmet white to start with, so I mixed up some white paint. And we'll get him drying while I'm doing the rest of the fillets, because he'll probably get painted tonight. So I mixed up some white paint, and I got an Iwata airbrush here, and we're going to dust on some white. I probably should paint the whole pilot white, because white is an easier color to paint than the flesh tone. And he really looks good. So we'll give him a coat of white and let him dry, and then probably half an hour from now give him another coat. Normally I don't go to this much detail on pilots, but because of what this airplane is, I'm going to detail up the helmet red, white, and blue just like the original. With good detail. I don't think I'm going to clear the helmet, but okay, so we got one coat on there. Before I get it too hot and melt the plastic, we'll let him dry. And I'll come back. There's a bead that goes all the way around like a bell helmet. I'm going to paint that black. I have a real small brush. I'll be painting that all black, and it's got a buckle in the back, and I'll paint that. This is, like I say, be more detailed than my normal pilot. So when I put another coat on, I'll be back. But time management, we're going to continue sanding. See you in a short. The sanding is pretty well complete on the fillets. And what we're going to do now is I call it the detail filleting. I'm going to mix up some Superfill, and I'm going to go over just the spots that need a little. I've finished sanding the nose off, getting it sanded in so it flows exactly perfect from nose to spinner. You can't feel the bump or anything. Like I keep telling you in this series, finishing is all about sanding. And I mean, you gotta sand. I've been sanding at least 10 hours today. And I would expect we're going to be sanding another 10. before it's ready to even shoot. I have my pilot, his helmet's drying. It's white. I'll go ahead and change the paint in the airbrush, and we'll get the blue on the front of his helmet and let it dry. And then we'll get the red stripes, and then I'll paint his face, and he'll be ready to mount. This started off as a really quick build. I mean, put it together relatively quick. 2 weeks I had it on its wheels. But I foresee that it's going to be probably a month of sanding and fitting. I want an outstanding classic airplane, not just a classic airplane. I want an outstanding classic airplane. So it's going to get even more detail than I did on my Thunderbolt, more detail than I did on my Monado, my Continental XL. I'm going to try to make everything just fit and align perfectly. I went around the gaps again. I just keep going around the airplane to see where we're at. And let's get the pilot and set him in there. And this is the morning of day 22. I thought I'd finish day 21 off with the morning of day 22 because the pilot is painted and he's not installed, but I'm going to do the Canopy today. But I thought I'd give you a picture of what he looks like. See if it focuses, and it doesn't. But he's a super neat looking guy. Got a little morning after shadow and a mustache. And what I'm going to do today, I'll start the video off with, we're going to paint this area right here underneath the cockpit, the canopy, white. And then I'll do the floor, we'll glue the pilot, and I'll get the canopy mounted today. And that'll kind of finish that area off. Then I can go back to sanding. As I told you at least a dozen times, it's all about sanding. And I mean, there is a ton of it. But what are you going to do? If you want a super nice airplane, you're going to have to sand. Let's get the camera off the tripod and look at him. This is the picture of the Continental on day 22. And by the end of the day, I'll have the canopy mounted. Fillets are sanded in. There's still another detailing to go on the Superfill. It's got a couple of low spots. I'll go ahead and get them filled. I've done filled in the areas here on the wingtips, and they're all sanded in. But it's coming out very nice. I cleaned the table off so we can finish on it. I got this area here that I was talking about that was low filled in. It probably could use a little more sanding. But the whole thing is, it's all about sanding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the day 21 video with this video, getting you the picture of the pilot. We're going to post this this part in open forum and post so everybody can see it and see what's inside Control Line Craftsman. Now the rest of this video is a more detailed video of how I got to this position. The sanding, the filleting, so on and so forth. It's probably, I would say there was 11 videos in it, so it's probably an hour and a half to 2 hours long. But I'll go ahead and post this up and we'll get everybody a look at it. So we'll see you on the next, on day 22.